right, guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're gonna be talking about everything that you need to start out your pressure washing business. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, my name is Austin Davis. I've been owning a pressure washing business here in my city for the last 5 years. This year, we'll do a little over 250 grand. I've been hitting 6 figures pretty consecutively for the last 3 or 4 years, started 5 years ago. So I wanted to come on here and make a video detailing everything that a beginner would need in order to go out there and just be successful as far as equipment goes. And now I know I've made several videos on this in the past, at least 2 or 3 videos about equipment, things that you need. But as time goes on, my thoughts can change, and I think I reserve the right to change some of my opinions. You know, there's always new equipment coming out, new things, new little gadgets that'll make your life easier and easier. So I wanted to make another new updated video on everything that you need. Now I will say right now, everything that I'm going to list in this video is going to be Amazon links in the description. So you can go right in the description of this video and buy everything on Amazon. Most of everything, I think 95% of what I'm gonna say is all gonna be on Amazon. And I will say, if you go through that link, I will get a small commission, and I very much appreciate you for that. And before we get into this equipment, I do wanna announce that January 1st, okay, the first week of January is gonna be our official launch date of our new 6-figure pressure washing program. Okay, I know I've discussed this a lot over the last few months. Over hundreds of hours have gone into filming, editing, and coming up with all this content, guys. I really wanted to take a lot of time and design this course for you guys. It's gonna be a step-by-step blueprint on how to get from where you are now, which could be little to nothing, to a 6-figure run rate, okay? It's gonna be everything that you really can't find on YouTube, okay? A lot of the problems with these courses, and any course on YouTube, I don't care what business it is, what these people do is they compile a lot of free information that's easily found on a simple search, put it into a program, and charge you $500 for it. We don't want to do that, guys. We want to make it super, super affordable. We're thinking something like $29.99, 20 bucks, something like that. It's going to be super affordable, and it's all going to be the stuff that no one wants to talk about. How about, hey, how to talk to a customer? What to say when a customer tells you, I'm getting other quotes, or I need to think about it. Simple sales skills that really no one wants to even consider talking about on YouTube as far as pressure washing goes. Everything from equipment, how to get jobs, and I'm not talking about, you know, putting flyers on doors. That's a great way to get jobs. Dude, we did that in high school, okay? So this program is gonna be tight niche, all the advanced stuff, the trade secrets, that actually going out there and being a business professional. Look, I've been doing this for the last 5 years, and I wanted to present you guys something that I can truly put my word behind, and how I literally got my business to this kind of level. So be on the lookout for that. If you're watching this video and it's past January 1st of 2024, the program is gonna be the first link right in the description. So make sure you go in there and get that program. All right, guys, let's get right into the equipment. So obviously we're in the pressure washing business, so we're gonna need some kind of pressure washer. This is obviously my system, guys. This whole skid is obviously my system. Now, I don't recommend someone go out there and get a system like this, especially when you're brand new. So I know this can kind of be a little overwhelming to look at. Don't worry, we'll break it all down for you guys. Reason why I don't recommend someone going out there and buying the most expensive equipment. One, it's expensive. A lot of people don't have the money. And if you're gonna take out debt on a business that you haven't really even marketed yourself yet, I think that's super, super dangerous and not conservative. I see a lot of people getting excited about this business, going out and financing equipment like this. They don't know how to use it. They've never used it before. They've never washed a house. They don't know anything about pressure washing. They get discouraged because they can't get jobs. They end up going to sell that equipment 6 months later for 50 cents on the dollar. So I don't want you to do that. I want you to start conservatively and smart. This is business, guys, so you know you need to think a little bit whenever we're making financial decisions. But for instance, okay, this is my pressure washer. It's an 8-gallon per minute system. If you do have the money, or if you do have experience and you have money laying around and you just so want to, although I don't recommend you to, this system right here will probably run you 3,500 bucks for $4,000. You cannot get this on Amazon. So I will not link this down in the description, but this is an advanced system right here. This is a system that honestly, your business should be pumping before you get a system like this. What I would recommend you guys do is get either a 2.7 gallon per minute, 2.5 gallon, or a 4 gallon per minute system. Those are kind of the barriers to entry as far as pressure washing systems goes. You have your 2.5, 2.7, which is exactly how I started. Then you have your 4 gallon system, which is gonna be, you know, middle to advanced. And then you have your 8 gallon system, like I have. I have a whole other built out trailer that has a hot water 8 gallon system. I don't want you guys even touching that, okay? That's very, very expensive, and especially when you're brand new, you could use that money for a lot. You can build a way better beginner system for the money. You guys don't need to be touching an 8 gallon per minute system. But you can go right into Home Depot and get a 4 gallon per minute or a 2.5 gallon per minute. A 2.5 to 2.7 is going to run you somewhere between $250 and $400. Your 4 gallon per minute system is going to be somewhere between $800 and as much as $1,500. It just depends what kind of pumps you have on there. There's direct drive, there's belt drive. You have different brands. I typically like to go Honda or Simpson for my brands. I do want to say right now that the PSI on pressure washers means almost nothing. I know a lot of people when I talk about, you know, pressure washing, they go, "Oh, I have a 4,000 PSI machine at home. It's pretty strong." PSI doesn't mean anything, guys. Anything above 2,500 PSI is, you know, it's not required. There's never going to be a point in time where I'm going to need to, you know, take a gun and specifically, you know, go hard on some concrete with the PSI. That's not how we do cleaning, guys. And you'll soon see that as you kind of get into this business. So guys, PSI does not mean anything. Anything above 2,500 PSI is going to be just fine. So that's all the ideal pressure that you're going to need, which is mainly just for cleaning concrete. That's the only reason why you need kind of high PSI, which is anything above 2,500 is just way overkill. And honestly dangerous. You could break stuff if you're actually using that kind of pressure. So what I want you to do is pay attention to the gallons per minute, okay? You have your 2.5, your 4 gallon per minute, and your 8 gallon per minute. Now the gallons per minute is what it stands for, gallons per minute. That is how much water is going out the system per minute of time on the trigger. And so that's gonna kind of dictate how fast you're cleaning, how efficient you are. Obviously with me using an 8 gallon per minute system, I'm able to wash really, really fast. A lot of people that are commenting on my YouTube videos, how are you getting it done so quickly? Well, dude, I have an 8 gallon per minute system. This is a $3,500 machine. Combined with 5 years of experience, I'm able to get done pretty fast. Now, I didn't start like that, guys. I started with a 2.5 gallon per minute machine, which is perfect, okay? You start with how you start with. You start with what you can afford and you work up from there. Now, I have my go-to 2.5 and 2.7 and 4 gallon per minute pressure washing machines linked right below this description. So you can go right in there and get those in your cart, have them ready to go. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna talk about is hose reels. Now, this is something that I would really highly advise you guys get a hold of some hose reels. Now, I understand you don't have to start with this. I didn't start like this, but if you can, this was something that really, I mean, just really got me in love with pressure washing, because I did not like pressure washing when I didn't have hose reels, simply because trying to wrap all this up by hand, your pressure hose, your soft wash hose, and your garden hose, really takes a toll on your body, especially when it's really hot. You're gonna really be double thinking this whole business when you're just body aching just from trying to wrap this hose up all by yourself, okay? And just do yourself a favor, you'll thank me later, trust me. Get yourself some hose reels. Now, these are King's electric hose reels. These are about 800 bucks a pop. I don't want you even touching this stuff right now, especially if you're a beginner, especially because all the wiring, how it all kind of goes back to the batteries, it's gonna be far beyond what you can kind of comprehend unless you're savvy like that. But beyond that, it's just expensive. You know, 3 of these, you're looking at, 2,400 bucks. I don't want you to do that. So what I would do is I would start with some easy hand crank hose reels. You have Cox hose reels. Those are the blue hose reels. You have General Pump hose reels. I started with both of those, which is just basically it's the same exact frame, 12-inch hose reels, except on this side, it'll have a hand crank. And so whenever your hoses are kind of out in the job, you'll crank them all up, okay? I didn't get hose reels until I was probably 8 to 12 months in the business. I can't remember. So I did, because I couldn't afford it. I started from nothing. I didn't really have that much money. So I started with how I started, which, like I said, you start with how you can start with. But I would just recommend, if you have the means, get yourself some hose reels. The Cox hose reels and the General Pump hose reels, those are about 225, 250 bucks, maybe $300, depending on, the time of the year. Equipment prices can kind of go up and down. Get yourself a set of hose reels. It's going to, you're going to enjoy pressure washing whenever you can just make your life easier. Now, when I would get to a job, it would take me 30 minutes to get all my hoses out of the back of the bed of my truck and laid out perfectly in order to start the job. And then another 25 to 30 minutes to hand roll them all up and nice and neat back in the truck. Okay, that adds an extra hour to the job. Okay, now my business, I'm out there for $250, $300 an hour. So it would literally cost me in man hours $250 to not have this stuff. So I understand sometimes you can't start with it. That's completely fine. Just my recommendation, get yourself some hose reels. I'll link those right below, right underneath the pressure washers. All right, so the next thing that you're gonna need and you're gonna wanna make sure you get is some extra and not just extra, the right high pressure hose. Okay, so the pressure washer hose, okay, this is high pressure hose that comes with a lot of these, or I think almost every single pressure washer that you can buy on Amazon or on any kind of website is gonna be this kind of double braided, it's gonna be really bad hose. I can't even describe it because I haven't even used it in years and years and years, but a lot of the hose that comes with these pressure washers are not good hoses. This is great on marking hose. This is what all the professionals use, okay? So if you see people use this hose in any kind of video, there's a reason for it, and it's durable and it doesn't crink up easily. Let me just tell you guys what I'm talking about. See how it sits really nice and easy on the ground? Okay, a lot of this like double braided crap that comes from Home Depot or any of these kind of suppliers, you know, they don't give you the expensive stuff, they give you the cheap stuff. Well, what happens whenever you get it all on the ground and you're actually using it, it literally just turns into like a spider web type stuff, and it's a mess to try and get a hold of. This is an absolute must. You must get a hold of some really, really good hose. You're gonna thank me later. It looks better, it operates better, it's gonna be less of a headache, and this stuff is really, really durable. Now, I will say, all this equipment, they all have a shelf life, they all have a lifespan. If you're washing a lot, I go through these hoses probably every 3 or 4 months, because what will happen is these hoses, or all pressure washing hoses really, are gonna explode on you. They're literally just gonna crack, and then all of a sudden you'll be washing and then boom, a hose line explodes. You gotta get a new hose line. That's just part of the business, guys, so be prepared for that. I always recommend, you know, as you start doing jobs, you put a little bit of money aside, you start getting extras, extra hoses, extra fittings, extra little pumps and screws and everything that could go bad. So just be prepared for that. But having a really, really good high pressure line is gonna be very, very beneficial for you. I will link this exact hose line right below the hose reels, so make sure you grab that. All right, so the next thing that we're gonna talk about is, you know, obviously you're gonna need is some garden hose line. Now, this is probably the best stuff you can get, and the beautiful thing is it's probably the most affordable you can get as well. Some of these garden hoses are like really, really expensive for no reason. So this is Flexzilla, guys. If you guys see any pressure washing YouTube guys out there washing, they're mostly using this stuff, and there's a reason for it. A lot of the hoses out there, you know, your typical, you know, garden hose that you see on the side of people's houses or at Home Depot, it's like this rubber stuff. Well, what happens is, you know, you could take out your garden hose line and then you plug it into the spigot, and then all of a sudden it's like kinking up like this, and like, you know, you're wondering why you're not getting any water. You go follow your garden hose line and there's kinks everywhere. So this stuff really doesn't kink. You could twist it, do all kinds of stuff with it, and it's never really going to kink, okay? And it's awesome. It's nice bright green, so whenever you're driving down the road and you do happen to have hose reels, you got some different colors going on. It's a nice little attractable thing to see. And I do love it how it has this little swivel piece at the end right here. And the reason why is because a lot of these garden hoses, they just have this little metal piece at the top, and that's what you use to screw in and screw out. Well, sometimes you don't have that much leverage, and depending on, you know, how tight it is on the garden hose fitting or on the bib, it can kind of be tough to use your fingers and kind of take it off and on. Well, it gives you a nice grip right here, so it's gonna give you a lot more leverage to take your garden hose off and on the spigot. Now, this stuff comes in 50 foot, 25 foot, 100 foot. I have 2 100-foot sections on my garden hose. That's gonna give me as much hose as I'm ever going to need. You know, if I'm pulling out to the side of the house and the driveway's like this, where it's about, you know, 75 yards from the spigot, I have plenty of room to plug into the spigot. So get yourself some Flexzilla garden hose. This is the 5/8 hose. It's just the best hose you can get for the pressure washing business. All right, so we got a pressure washer, we got our hose reels, we got a high pressure line, we got some garden hose line. Next thing you're gonna need is a dedicated gun, okay? So this is our dedicated wash gun that we use on both of my rigs here. It's an ST2305. Mine is blue. They usually come in black. The color doesn't matter, guys. But I like this gun because it goes up and then at an angle towards the upper end. Some of these guns are formed like pistols where it just goes up and then out like this. I like this because it has this angle that already goes up. Because most of the time when I'm washing, I need it to already be pointing up. I don't want to have to maneuver my hand anymore, you know, so I kind of like this how, you know, they're already thinking about how us pressure washers wash houses. So this is a beautiful thing. You're also going to need these quick connects on each side. You have a 3/8 quick connect on the bottom and a 1/4 inch quick connect on the top. These are both female pieces. You need the one on the bottom because obviously you need to be able to quick connect this in and out of your ball valve. We're going to talk about ball valves in a second. But you're gonna need these little pieces on each end. The ones that I'm gonna link on Amazon, they're already gonna come hardwired in here. Now, guys, you can easily just screw this in yourself. It's not that hard. Just get some Teflon tape or any kind of sticky tape. Put it on the piece and screw it in there. You'll be just fine. And then you need this top piece because you're gonna need to put some kind of tip on there. Now, whether to use what's called a J-rod, which a lot of people use, advanced people, beginner people. I use this when I was just getting started. This is perfectly fine. You have different kinds of tips on there, depending on what you're doing. Maybe you're fan spraying a driveway, you're fan spraying a house, washing a house, or maybe you're, getting a long shot on the house. You have several different options there. It goes on like so. And then you can switch pretty easily. Okay. Only reason why I stopped using this was because I don't really feel like doing this several times throughout a house wash. One, because there's chemical always going to be kind of dripping out of here. I don't want it to get on my hands that much. I'm trying to limit that. So what I did is I switched from the J-rod to my own little setup right here. This is a M5 twist combined with a shooter tip. Now I'll see if I can find a setup like this. I'll link it down on Amazon for you guys. But I will say this is super easy to build. You can get a little J-rod like this, which is just basically like what this is, and put an M5 twist and a sharpshooter, tool on the other side. The M5 twist is basically this and this. I mean, like what the M5 twist basically did was they said, okay, we'll give you the ability to fan spray, but if you just want to twist, we'll give you the full-on, needle spray. Okay, so you have different options there. Okay, and then this right here is just if there's something that's just too far beyond that this can't reach, this is going to reach it right here. And this is just a straight up big orifice. It's just going to give you a long needle nose stream. So this is what I use. Every time we're washing or the team is washing, it's just going to be this kind of setup, and I can wash houses pretty easily. All right, guys, let's talk about ball valves. Okay, so a ball valve is going to be exactly this. This is going to be your method of basically cutting off and on the water. So let's say I'm washing a house. Okay, this is always going to be on the other end of my pressure washer hose. Let's say I'm washing a house and now I want to, I have my gun right here. Okay. Okay. Let's say I want to stop washing a house and I want to now hook up my surface cleaner and start pressure washing the driveway. If you don't have a ball valve, a way of cutting off the water, you're gonna have to go and turn off your machine, let out the pressure, then take off the gun, put on your surface cleaner, restart the machine. Okay, what this does is it allows you to cut the pressure, release the pressure from the gun, take this off, and hook up your different thing. Maybe it's a different lance or a different gun you wanna use, or maybe it's your surface cleaner. Hook on the surface cleaner, turn back on the pressure. The machine is always going to stay on. You don't need to turn it off and on. You don't need to, add any extra time to the job. You're going to need a ball valve. You need a way of cutting off and on your pressure to, switch out your different gun setups that you're using. It doesn't matter if you're washing a house or, you're using a big lance to get some detail work, because maybe you don't want to use this. Maybe you want to use one of those long lances. You got to be able to switch. Also, whenever you're rinsing driveways, or if you just want to rinse concrete pad or whatnot, you would use a ball valve. Or for most of us, we use ball valves. So you can use this ball valve and just rinse. It's a really good way to put down a lot of volume of water. Yeah, you're gonna need to get a ball valve. So this ball valve will be linked in the description. All right, guys, let's talk about chemical application for a quick second, which obviously you're gonna need. And the main thing you're gonna need, as far as beginners and even advanced people, everyone uses this, and that's gonna be a downstream injector. Okay, so the point of this downstream injector, it can go a couple places. It can go, right on the actual pump itself, or what I like to do is I like to, run it right on the side of my hose reels. So this is the whip line going from my pressure washing pump to my hose reel. Okay, this is what's going to supply pressure from the pressure washing pump to the hose reel, and which is going to go through the hose reel and out my high pressure line. So in the middle, I'll have hook up my downstream injector. Okay, and it goes on like so. Now I'll have a hose bib from here to my bleach line. Okay, so the reason you want to have this is you're going to need some kind of level of application of chemical application. Now in this video, I'm not going to kind of detail how a downstream injector fully works. There's a lot of other videos you can look at, but a downstream injector is a very, very cheap way to apply chemicals. You can get these for about anywhere from 50 to 100 bucks, depending on what kind of injector you have and the brand and whatnot. This is a really, really nice 2.1 injector. I'm going to link this down in the description. Again, we have our stainless steel fittings on each end. I always run the stainless steel fittings. They're not gonna get as corroded out as easy as the brass and copper ones. So make sure any kind of fittings you guys are running, make sure you grab the stainless steel ones. Okay, they're gonna be a couple dollars more than the other kinds of fittings, but they're gonna last a lot longer. It's just a bit more professional and it's gonna save you a lot of time. But make sure you guys get a downstream injector, okay? How it works is whenever you're on the gun and your injector is on and your tube is in your bleach tank or soap tank, every time you turn on the gun, due to the pressure, as the water comes in, a little siphoning suction system is gonna occur and it's gonna suck soap or bleach or whatever kind of solution you have through this injector, and it's gonna go out your pressure washing gun. And that's how a lot of us, that's how I clean houses to this day. It's gonna give you about a 1% mix with your bleach, which can clean vinyl, clean hardy board wood, make stuff look really, really good. And then there's our soft wash systems, which we'll get into that later. But this is gonna be absolutely what you're gonna need for, you know, when you're first getting started as far as chemical application goes. All right, guys, let's talk about surface cleaners. Okay, so a surface cleaner is basically this. This is my Ground Force Whisper Wash. It's a 24-inch surface cleaner. They run about $1,300. You can't use one unless you're using an 8-gallon per minute machine, which 99% of you guys will not be using. You guys will be starting with a 2.7 or a 4-gallon per minute machine, in which I would recommend a small disc surface cleaner. If you're using a 2.5, 2.7 gallon per minute machine, you can get that at Home Depot. I will also link it in the description for you guys. That way you can just go over there and get one. That's gonna be perfect for your little 2.7 gallon per minute machine. Again, guys, we're just starting. It doesn't need to be the fanciest of the fancy. If you're using a 4-gallon per minute machine, maybe you've allocated a bit more money, you're starting with a 4-gallon per minute machine, that's even better, in which you will use a 20-inch surface cleaner that looks kind of like this. Now, I know a lot of people, they say for every gallon per minute your pressure washer is, that's 4 inches on the surface cleaner. So if you're using a 4-gallon per minute pressure washer, your surface cleaner must be 16 inches. A lot of people use a 20-inch surface cleaner for their 4-gallon per minute machine. So, you know, when you hear that, you know, I'm sure it's a good rule of thumb, and yes, it's the safest way, I guess, to go about if, you know, your exact math. But whenever I used 4-gallon per minute, and I did it for 2 years, I always used a 20-inch surface cleaner, and I did just fine. So you want to use a surface cleaner whenever you're cleaning concrete, because, you know, a lot of typical homeowners, if they're cleaning concrete or their patio or their driveway, they're gonna try and attack it like this with a big wand. This is gonna throw out your back. You're gonna really consider pressure washing as a business if you try to do pressure washing with this guy. This is basically like a lawnmower for concrete. It's gonna allow you to do a driveway in about 10 times as fast as it would be with this guy. The first driveway I ever pressure washed, I did it with something like this. It took me about 4 to 5 hours. It was a sizable driveway. That same driveway I could do in less than 30 minutes with this guy right here. So keep in mind that as far as, you know, you're looking at things, you're looking at equipment to save you some time, a surface cleaner is going to be an absolute must. This is not something that you should even consider thinking about. Like the hose reels, you technically don't need them. You need this guy right here. This is not something to even think about. Get yourself a surface cleaner. Now, I will say, this is where this guy comes into play, because sometimes when we're going around driveways, there's these corners that the surface cleaner can't really get to. You see the surface cleaner is a big circle. Well, if we go into a corner like over there, like next to the garage, where the garage meets the siding right there, that surface cleaner is not going to be able to get that corner. So what I would do is, after I get done with the whole driveway cleaning, I'd get my big lance out with a big turbo nozzle. Now, you don't have to use a turbo nozzle. You can use a J-rod, but turbo nozzles are great. It's a great cleaning device. I'll link this down in the description too. These run about $100. It's another great way to kind of do your detail work. This thing will absolutely really get off anything on concrete, or at least, you know, like maybe you got some big gum or some residue attached to the concrete. This guy will really help you out with that. But after you do your driveway cleaning, you want to get a big lance like this, and you want to go around your corners, and you want to get the stuff that the surface cleaner really can't get, like around the mailbox, in or around tight corners. Again, this is a big circle, so a circle can't really fit into a corner. Get yourself another dedicated lance with a big extension right here with some kind of J-rod or a turbo nozzle. That's what you're gonna need as well. All right, guys, let's talk about soft wash systems for a second. If you guys are cruising on YouTube, you're gonna see a lot about soft wash systems, soft wash pumps. What's the difference between soft washing and pressure washing and downstreaming? I get it, it's gonna be a little bit confusing, okay? So that downstream injector that I showed you earlier, That's a perfect way of chemical application. At the end of the day, these are just different ways of chemical applications, applying chemicals, guys. The problem with the downstream injector is it has its limitations. You cannot go above a certain strength. The strongest you're going to get on a downstream injector is a 1% cleaning rate. Now, a 1% solution, you know, and I'm not going to dive too much into, you know, how to mix bleach. That's going to be for a different video. But a 1% solution is basically going to clean hardy board and vinyl and maybe some soffits and some fascia, maybe some gutter lining. That's going to be perfect for a downstream injector. So if you're in an area where all your homes are vinyl, hardy board, you know, wood siding, perfect for a downstream injector. The problem is when you're in the South, like me in Texas, a lot of our homes are built with bricks, stucco, stone, limestone. You're going to need a way of applying stronger mix. So a soft wash system basically is just a pump. And whatever is pulling from that pump is going to a tank. Now in that tank, how I started, I batch mixed, right? I manipulated the amount of water and the amount of bleach that was in there to get my own solution. So if I go to a house and it's brick and it's black and moldy, I know that I probably need a 4% solution to really even clean that. So I can manipulate my bleach and water. I can add more bleach, add more water into the tank, put my dipstick right into the tank, and turn on my pump, and now my pump is pulling from that tank and out my soft wash gun. And now I'm literally shooting a 4% mix. I can't do that with my downstream injector. A dedicated soft wash system like this, or like the one that I started with, I recommend using a Gen 2 soft wash system from the Power Wash store. It's gonna give you the ability to have 2 pumps and switch them on and off. And the nice thing about that system is if one goes down, you know, you can just turn the other one on and you're back in business. Whereas some soft wash systems, you know, if a pump goes out, you're kind of SOL, right? Now, you don't need a soft wash system when you're first getting started. Okay, a lot of the stuff that I'm saying with the downstream injecting and the surface cleaning, you can get away with doing it as a beginner. But I say as soon as you get a hold of some money, I would say, you know, don't pocket any money at the beginning. Put some money aside and get yourself a soft wash system. I recommend the Gen 2 soft wash system from the Power Wash store. That's exactly how I started. Or you can go out there and build your own, which you literally just buy a pump, you buy your lines, you buy some pressure or some soft wash line, you can construct it yourself. If you're just getting started, it might be a little bit over your head. That's why I say get yourself a Gen 2 soft wash system. It's gonna come with the pumps, it's gonna come with the casing, it's gonna come with its own reel and hose line and gun on it. That's why I liked it. For me, it's just about convenience and knowing that I'm getting something that's durable and that's highly reputable. And I used that for 2.5 years and it never had any issues with it. So I say as soon as you guys get some extra money on the side, get yourself a soft wash system. I'm gonna link a couple down in the description. You guys can surf between those. But I say when you're first getting started, you don't need to have one, although if you can afford it, do get yourself set up with one. But having a soft wash system is definitely something I would say is what you need to be kind of working towards as you're first getting started with jobs. All right, guys, this is the next thing I'm gonna kind of talk about is having some kind of toolbox. Now, I love the Milwaukee pack outs. These are just beautiful. There's gonna be a lot of different things you're gonna need as far as repair tools when you're in the business. Now, honestly, having a setup like this that just, you know, close it, hit this button, okay, it comes right off. It also snaps right back in. Okay, now you can kind of pick it up as a whole. But having this little thing on top where you can kind of put your little ins and odd pieces right here, like this is one of the most important things right here that you guys will come to learn. Now, this tool right here, which you can get on Amazon, which I will link, and these little O-rings, all of these little quick connect pieces, okay? Like this guy, this is a brass one, I don't use it, but I'm not sure if you guys can see that. Let me see if I can get you guys to see that. There's a little rubber O-ring in there, a black rubber O-ring, okay? Looks like this guy. After a certain amount of cleaning, certain amount of hours, these O-rings will literally blow right out of this. And all of a sudden you'll be, you know, turning on your gun and there's just gonna be water going everywhere. You're gonna wonder what's going on. It's because your O-ring failed, okay? So what you do is you take this little tool, you go in there, you can easily take it out and put this guy in, you put it right here, boom, 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 stick it in that little thing, back in business. Having a set of O-rings, okay, with a little tool, okay, I can't tell you how many times we've been at, you know, over the years, we do so much washing where O-rings blow out all the time. It can blow out of your surface cleaner, it can blow out of your pressure washing gun, it can blow out of your lance. and you must have a tool to dig the old one out or put the new one in. And then you obviously need a set of 3/8 O-rings and 1/4 inch O-rings for the top, okay? I also have a spare ball valve, okay? Boom. Always got to have one of these, because sometimes, you know, although these are so durable, guys, I've never honestly, I've barely swapped my ball valves. But again, sometimes, you know, if you drop one, it could break, it can crack this little black piece, so on and so forth. Always nice to have an extra ball valve. I always keep extra fittings, okay? These are female, male connect fittings that go on my surface cleaners, my guns, my hose reels. It all takes these fittings, okay? And having a box with dedicated parts, that way you can, you know, you can do repairs on site, is going to save you a lot of time and save your customers a lot of headache. Nothing worse than being at a job and having to tell your customer, hey, we had an equipment failure, we have to leave, we'll come back tomorrow. If your schedule's busy, you got a baby, you got kids you got to take to school, hey, sometimes you can't even come back the next day, okay? Make sure you have a toolbox, make sure you have your dedicated tools ready to go in here at a moment's notice. I even have stuff for my soft wash system. The soft wash system has polypropylene, I forgot how you say it, little plastic elbows and pieces and whatnot. I got stuff for the soft wash system. I got these little clamps, okay? These go on the soft wash pump to make sure the hose stays on there, okay? Sometimes I even keep some of the old ones. This is actually what I'm talking about. Okay, so what can happen to some of these pieces? Due to the rust and the bleach, they get all rusted out, okay? And they start leaking, they get all weird, they get all gross. Come in there and you put a fresh one on, okay? That's what I'm talking about. And then in here I keep masks, I keep gloves, any kind of safety equipment like glasses, gloves, masks, so on and so forth. I'm going to link in the description. Make sure you guys get yourself some good safety equipment. I'll link this box. You guys need some kind of box. I don't care where you get it. This is just the one I like. I like how you can separate it. It's Milwaukee, it's nice, it's a great brand. Make sure you have some kind of tools in there, and then make sure you have, obviously, you know, sometimes you need flatheads and some screwdrivers. You know, I'll tell you what's the most important tool I have in here. I call these monkey wrenches, crescent wrenches, okay? You need to be able to take off the actual fittings that are literally screwed in there so tight. You gotta have a method of taking them off, you know? So I use one to hold one end, and I use this for leverage, and I unscrew it. Sometimes you can put a vise on your truck. That'll work too. But if you don't have these, you're not going to be able to obviously take off your fittings. I also have a dedicated set of sockets. Sometimes, you know, you need sockets and stuff for replacing some of this stuff. So make sure you have good tools. Make sure you have a good toolbox. All right, guys, lastly, I know a lot of you guys might be thinking, okay, Austin, there's all this equipment, but how does it all go together, okay? I have it all on a nice aluminum skid. This is from Cedar Creek Innovations. I will drop his information down below on how you can get a skid. You can get one shipped to you. But again, guys, you don't need something like this either. I believe this skid, just the metal skid, is probably $3,500, $4,000. I'll have to double check. It could be cheaper. But how I started is I built a wooden platform skid that looks just like this myself, with some 1/2-inch treated wood from Home Depot and some 4x4s and 2x4s. You can definitely do that. You can do that for less than $100 in an afternoon with yourself and a beer or a sandwich or whatever, maybe your son or a friend. And you can build it yourself. I will overlay some video of my old skid that I had in there, and I built that all by hand, which is me and my friend's dad. We built that. You can definitely do that. It'll work perfectly. The only thing I will say is that is going to have a lifespan. If you're putting together all this wood with metal nails and whatnot, as bleach kind of is everywhere, it's going to rust out the nails. The wood's going to get rotted out over time. You're going to have to rebuild that whole thing every single year for the most part if you want something sturdy that's you know, that's a bit reliable. As far as the aluminum one, it looks a bit more professional. You know, it's going to give you more space. Everything is cut perfectly, and it's all tailored towards pressure washing guys. Again, it's not required. I built mine out of wood. It actually was pretty beneficial to me because I actually learned a lot about construction and contracting and putting stuff like that together. And it gave me a lot of fulfillment actually building my own skid and then bolting everything down the way I wanted. I can kind of manipulate how I wanted my hose reels, how I wanted my pressure washer to be. And it was actually really, really fulfilling. So either you build one by hand or you get one like this, which I'll link down in the description. You guys can go get some more information on that. But got to have some kind of way to bolt everything down. All right, guys, there you have it. That is everything that you need to get started in the pressure washing business. Now, again, guys, you know, there's always bigger and better equipment that you guys can get, but I wanted to make this video as a baseline for any beginner out there, you know, that's asking themselves, what exactly do I need? You know, how's this supposed to look? How am I supposed to set it up and whatnot? This is everything that you need as a baseline, you know, that you need to get if you're going to start this business correctly. Now, of course, there's always bigger and better pressure washers, bigger and better hose reels, bigger and better soft wash systems out there. You know, how I started is I started with a Northern Tool soft wash system, which is a $500 piece of equipment that comes on wheels, its own tank and a pump and a battery all in one platform, which I didn't talk about, guys. But a Northern Tool soft wash system is a great way to get into soft washing. That's budget friendly as a beginner. Now, I wouldn't recommend starting or continuing with that. I would recommend upgrading as soon as possible. But that's the point, guys. You start with how you start with. You upgrade as you get jobs. Now, you don't get money and blow it off. One, because you need to think about taxes. And the other thing you need to think about is upgrading your equipment fast, okay? Because you don't want to be out there taking forever to do certain jobs. You want to upgrade to those better hose reels, upgrade to bigger and better pressure washers. That's going to allow you to work faster. Get a better soft wash system. That's the whole point of this. That's my thinking in this. A lot of people, they go into this business and they say, I need a $25,000 trailer or a skid, even though I've never pressure washed anything before, even though I don't have a business, because it's a business expense and I need that to start my business. Dude, you don't even have a business. You are making a very, very risky choice on something you know nothing about. You're gonna get this skid in which you have no idea how to work it, no way how to diagnose issues with it. You've never washed a house before, and it's gonna be a toy sitting in the driveway that you're gonna be able to look at that you thought was a business thing to make you money, and it's not making you any money. That's the problem with a lot of people financing equipment right now that are just getting started, is because they can't afford it. They get it on debt and payments. It's another thing to buy it cash, but if you get it on payments and you have no business to support it, wow, what a just a dumb decision that was. And what happens is they're not getting any jobs because, you know, they get demotivated. Their back is against the wall with all these payments for their equipment. They're forced to sell their equipment for sometimes 50 to 75 cents on the dollar. I'm not going to allow you guys to do that. That's not going to be my recommendation. Start with how you can start with. Start with how you can pay cash for stuff. That way you guys can go to sleep at peace, not knowing that, hey, look, if this business doesn't work out for me, at least I bought it all cash and it was cheap, and I can move on to something else. So that's my thinking as far as business and life and in my program. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There's gonna be a lot more videos coming soon. I have a really, really busy December coming up, and my program is coming in the beginning of January. Other than that, guys, throw down a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Let me know if I missed anything, what you guys would recommend as a beginner. I'm pretty sure I covered it all. Other than that, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Peace out.